On the line with us is a fellow who's been a number of years since he's been on the program. Peter Navarro and I used to commiserate right here on these airwaves about the horrible state of trade and the idiotic neoliberal trade policies that have been pursued by both Democrats and Republicans for the last 40 years. He's got a new book out. It's called Taking Back Trump's America: Why We Lost the White House. We being the Trumpies, apparently, lost the White House and how we'll win it back. It notes in the book, in this follow-up to the breakout bestseller In Trump Time, Peter Navarro explains why Trump lost the White House in 2020 and how he will win it back in 2024, and none too soon. Peter, welcome back to the program. It's been a long time since we've talked, and I'm glad you're still around, alive and kicking, but I'm a little mystified by this Trump turn. Anyhow, tell me, it seems like you're acknowledging that Trump did lose in 2020, because your book says why Trump lost the White House. Tell us about that in 2024, what your plans are, what you think Trump's plans are.
Sure. And Tommy, it's a great pleasure being back with you again. I always enjoyed our conversations in the past. To be clear, the first half of the book is about the loss of the 2020 race. The second half of the book is dedicated to the blueprint and battle cry for the Make America Great movement to take back the Trump White House in 2024. And the first step really is in the next 29 days to focus on the House of Representatives races, where it's my judgment that if Nancy Pelosi continues to control the House, she will continue to make bad decisions economically, as well as continue to weaponize unconstitutionally her powers. With respect, Tom, to the how we lost the White House, it's a not too fine point in the first chapter of Taking Back Trump's America that because of bad personnel inside the White House, people who were disloyal both to Trump and his agenda, we wound up in a situation where that election, in my judgment, was close enough to steal. This could and should have been a landslide victory based on the platform we could and should have run on and the performance we managed to put on the scoreboard. But therein lies the tale. And the Taking Back Trump's America, it's kind of interesting, Tom. I think you noticed I'm one of only 3 senior White House advisors who was actually with the president, not just all 4 years, but also during the campaign. And what I saw was in November 9th, 2016, the day after the election, was the original sin of the administration, which was to bring in the Bush-Cheney Republicans, the Rhino Republican and name-only Republicans, under the assumption that we needed them to staff what is admittedly a deep state bureaucracy. The assumption, which turned out to be deeply flawed, was that these people would be loyal not just to Trump but to his agenda. And I myself would spend all 4 years fighting more with people inside the administration than outside, trying to put forth the agenda. There's a great story in Taking Back Trump's America, Tom, where I'm in the Roosevelt room early 2017, early in the administration. President Trump's across the table from me, and he's brought in most of the cabinet. You got Tillerson, and you got Mattis, you got Sonny Perdue, you got Wilbur Ross, you got Mnuchin. Most of the West Wing top brass, like Gary Cohn, the Goldman Sachs fool. And he goes around the table talking about why isn't my trade policy moving. He gets to the end and he realizes there's just only 2 people sitting at that table who fully support his trade agenda. That was him and me.
Yeah.
And I saw his eyebrows go up, Tom. It was like an epiphany for him that day. And we were able from that day to start moving in spite of those people. But I'm telling you, it was like just so many things.
Well, he campaigned on this, Peter, and I think that was one of the things that won him some, Midwestern states, was the fact that he was saying we're going to bring our jobs back, we're going to bring our factories back, and this is the area where you and I have always agreed. What baffles me And I totally get it about, you talk about, the wild-eyed Freedom Caucus nut jobs and these, Rasputin, Kushner, and the bad personnel. I mean, you were just talking about, Steve Mnuchin, who, foreclosed, using robo-signing. I mean, it should be a crime, right, on over 30,000 Californians. And I mean, Wilbur Ross was called a grifter by Forbes magazine. So yeah, he made some bad personnel decisions. But this idea that he should be able to hold on to power even after he has lost an election seems to me like a huge bridge too far for in American democracy. How can you square Trump's ongoing lies about that, essentially, that he lost the election? Everybody agrees on this. 60 different courts have looked at this, including the United States Supreme Court. There has not been, I know, what's his name's got this movie out, 2,000 Meals. Literally every point in that movie has now been completely debunked. He lost the election. How can anybody continue to support this man when he is, chopping away at the root of the tree of liberty in America?
Well, Tom, this is where you and I will have a disagreement. I think it's important to have that discussion. I think I'm in a unique place to address election fraud because right after the November 3rd election in 2020, I conducted an exhaustive analysis across the 6 battleground states. It's in what was called the Navarro report up on my website, peternavarro.com, where I looked at the potential fraud there. And, look, I'm a Harvard-trained economist, statistician. I've looked at the data myself. And I think there's a reason. The one thing you left out, Tom, is that over half of the American people do think that election was compromised in some way.
Well, that's a testimonial to how effective a lie told by a former president of the United States can be. I mean, it's if somebody repeats a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. That was Goebbels' main premise.
I don't think it's going to be useful for you and I to have that debate. The Taking Back Trump's America book is not about that. I think that if you go back to Nixon and Kennedy, I think we all agree there that Kennedy stole that one from Nixon. I do think that. Actually,
I disagree. I mean, even if Kennedy had lost Illinois, he still would have won the Electoral College.
Interesting. Well,
I mean, if there was fraud in that election, it was probably down in Texas. But Republicans are not alleging that; they're talking about Chicago. Yeah. But that's ancient history.
That as it may, look, my focus, Tom, because I think what's important here is what we did in terms of policy. My insight as his top economic advisor dating back to the campaign was that if you're going to have prosperity in America, you had to have your jobs on shore. You had to have your factories and supply chains.
I completely agree with you. I mean, like I said, you and I have talked about this for years, Peter.
Yeah.
But here's how can you?
I think hang on. Let me just ask you one question. Because I'm wondering whether we disagree on this. It's like the key structural part of this economy, which made us tick and keep inflation down, was strategic energy dominance, and basically building pipelines and fracking and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like what we've gotten into now with Biden. He basically undid a lot of the executive orders I myself helped write on energy, and we're now in a situation where we're letting oil out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in amounts that won't matter, that are laughable, and we're dependent on the Venezuelans, the Russians, the Iranians, and we're back kind of in a 1970s style OPEC blackmail, when in fact that's really the key to
no, I get that. In 2015, it was from 1973 until 2015, and I know you know this, it was illegal to export American oil. And by 2015, and this was touted as one of the great accomplishments during the Obama administration, we became energy independent. We produce more oil than we consume in the United States. But today, because a Democrat actually, Heidi Heitkamp, slipped this thing into an appropriations bill, the oil companies, which are ripping us off, including one of the largest refineries in America now owned by the Saudis, are exporting not just oil but gasoline. 30% of the oil produced in the United States right now is being exported, and 800,000 barrels a day of gasoline, refined gasoline, are being exported. And if we kept that stuff in America, we would be 100% energy independent. I think we'd probably agree on this.
Off, yeah.
But Peter, I only have 90 seconds left. I still, you have not convinced me that Donald Trump is, and Trumpism, the idea that we can simply reject democracy and we can govern by lies is not a threat to our democracy,
debate,
our republic.
To be fair, we haven't had that debate. I'll come back again and just talk about the election. My whole point here with taking back Trump's America is that we need to get back to an economy that works for black, brown, and blue-collar Americans. And the whole MAGA movement, it's a peaceful movement. It's aimed at prosperity on domestic soil and peace with the rest of the world.
But how can you do that if you lose your democracy?
We don't have that now. Well, look, again, we can have that discussion. I mean,
you got Republicans talking about trashing a Republican form of government. You said, let's take back the House, this whole independent, state legislature theory that the House can throw the election in the Electoral College. That's not democracy.
Let me just leave you with this, okay? Putting me in leg irons, okay, and strip searched and in a jail cell for simply doing my duty to the Constitution ain't democracy to me, Tom, okay? I did nothing but save lives and create jobs, and as soon as I got out, the Democrats went after me. That's not democracy.
What were you charged with, Peter?
Oh, you're not aware of this?
I know that you were arrested. I frankly don't know what for.
They charged me with contempt of Congress for not complying with a subpoena because executive privilege had been waived. It was not my privilege to waive. It was like nobody ever, Tom, had ever been put in that position.
Peter, we are hitting that hard break
democracy.
We're hitting that hard break that I warned you of.
We'll do this again anytime you want. Let's have these.
Peter Navarro, his new book is Taking Back Trump's America. Peter, thanks for dropping by. Good talking to you.
All right, my brother. Bye-bye.
Thank you.